Today's openings begin with a Vodnik Czech Dark Lager from Barnhammer Brewing Company in Winnipeg. They describe this as a traditional Czech dark lager, deep copper in color, gentle roast, whisper of malt sweetness, and a subtle complex richness. That's an interesting blend of flavors. I like it. So first thing in, as often is happening these days, no description on the outside of the package. It is a bunch of little modules. 20 amp, 4.2 volts, 0 volts, 8.4 volts, and a positive and negative there. So this looks like a 2S battery protection circuit. No other information on the back of here, but yeah, so you'd put the 0 volts of one battery there, the midpoint between the two cells, and the most positive there. Now, is this a charging board or just a protection board? FM702A, not familiar with that guy. What are you? A2SHB, that is a Wii MOSFET. 88SA or DLA3, not familiar with that guy. And these are going to be probably MOSFETs, I'm guessing, for disconnecting. Maybe a couple of diodes, not sure. I guess I'd best look at the listing to find out whether it is in fact a charge board or just a protection board, or is it maybe a balancing board? Because I may have ordered any of these in the past. 3S, 4S, 40 amp, 60 amp lithium-ion battery charger protection board, 18650 BMS for drill motor and various voltages and whatnot. Currently, 5 pieces of the 2S 20 amp, which is what I actually got, is selling for $1.69. Wow. So it says down here that this is a BMS and that it protects against a wide variety of issues like overcharge, overdischarge, and short circuits. But it doesn't say that it provides proper charging current, and it also doesn't say anything about balancing. So I guess we'll have to experiment with it a little bit at some point in the future. After a fair bit of hunting and a bit of translating, here is the main chip on there. It is a dual cell lithium battery protection chip, exactly what you'd expect. And there is the typical application circuit. So a couple of MOSFETs. The batteries go in there, and there is the output voltage or input, I guess, from the charging circuit. So this doesn't handle charge protection. Well, and I guess it'll handle overcharge protection, but it doesn't do the actual charging itself. It doesn't do the constant current, constant voltage charging that you need for lithium-ion cells. All right, next in, does it say what it is? Not really. I don't even know why I bother checking anymore. Oh, so 5 other modules. Okay. I wonder what these guys are. Ooh, lots of MOSFETs, or, yeah, big transistors, probably MOSFETs. 0 volts, 4.2, 12.6, 8.4. This is a 1, 2, 3 cell in series protection board. I'm going to guess that other than having more MOSFETs on it, it's probably going to be pretty much the same as that other one. No, my guess is wrong. This one has a set of DW01s, which are a very common protection chip that we've seen many times before. Looks like one for each cell, and then it has 3 of these guys, BB3A, which I don't know. And down here we have some transistors, 2L, probably just a common NPN or PNP. And up here we have the A2SHB, which are just your basic little MOSFETs. And then, of course, the big MOSFETs doing the heavy lifting. And this one claims to be good for 40 amps. Oh, I could have just read it right there. 3S 40 amps. Of course, that's what it is. Looks like I bought these from the same seller in the same order even. So it's all the same description up there. $259 for the 5 of these guys. And they are, as we said, 3S 40 amp. Oh, and these claim to be balancing. Okay, whereas the other one Oh, maybe it does balance too. Okay. So there's not going to be anything different to say about it down below because, again, it's the same description. But this one does claim to do balancing. I misread the other one seems to too. So I guess I'll have to play with... I'll probably grab both of these out in the same video in the future. Yeah, that's the ticket. But just for a quick little hit of information, that BB3A seems to translate out to this HY2213, which is a single cell charge balancing IC. Well, there we go. And I guess being a single cell, you can just use them in banks like that, which is probably what's going on here. Only 3 banks instead of 6 like that shows. Something definitely worth spending some time with in the future. For something different, let's see what an anonymous donor has sent to the channel. It looks like this has come from Gerald. Yeah, still anonymous. Though not as anonymous as some people are, I suppose. Oh, a couple of things. What's in the little bag here? Suppose I could just read it. It's a microphone reverberation board, preamp, no preamplifier, plate reverb module for audio effects. Ho ho ho. So, what do we have? Looks like one chip doing all the work, and then maybe a power chip down there. A bunch of electrolytic capacitors because we got some analog stuff going on. That's labeled in, that's labeled power, and that is labeled out. The brains of this operation is a CD2399. Given the description on the package, this was not a difficult thing to find. There is your search term down below in the description as usual. Looks like you can get multiple versions of it. You can get them standalone like this one is, or packaged with other stuff. Let's just take a closer look at one of these. No, not really much to say. Just the plate reverb without preamp. 6 to 15 volts. That's useful information. R27 is the reverb depth resistor. If you want, it can be an adjustment. Remove R27 and connect the potentiometer to the SG and G pads. Okay. Other than that, not very much information. There's the chip itself. It is a CMOS chip, ADC, and DAC. So it digitizes it and then digital processing to create the DUA. Here's the application circuit that they suggest. Oh, there's several different circuits, okay, and resistor time DUA. Oh, interesting. Although most of that is set up on the board already. That might be fun to play with. Thanks to the anonymous donor who sent that in. And what else was in that package? This looks like some wood for laser cutting and other crafty things. Yeah, that's exactly what that is. 10 pieces of wood squares. Oh, that's nice thin stuff too. What do we got here? What is that? It's about 1.5 millimeters thick. Wow. And it is plywood, but it's basically a center layer of miscellaneous with a layer of probably basswood on the outer 2 sides, on the top and bottom. Good stuff for laser engraving things. Maybe I can make myself a wooden coaster instead of the 3D printed ones that I've been using. Thank you once again to, who was that sent that in? Gerald, it says on there. Once again, the description on the package helped greatly, although all the ones that I seem to have found here are bamboo squares, which is fine, but I'm really hoping that Gerald didn't pay $21 for a handful of these. I'm hoping that he found them at cheap on auction, which is how I would do it, and donated that. But regardless, these will be handy for just playing around in the laser, doing crafts and decoration stuff. Actually, some of this might end up as decorative items in around the house, maybe Christmas tree ornaments or something like that. Who knows? The future will tell. All right, next thing in, the packages are starting to get a little bit bigger. It's not a surprise, that's how I sort them. Lots and lots of bubble wrap on this guy. What are you? Microbit V2. Oh! I wish this had shown up earlier. This is the edge connector breakout board for that microbit shaped Raspberry Pi Pico that I was taking a look at. Was it last week already? Yeah, I think so. So there are all the pins that it breaks out, which is quite a number. It has a V in and ground there, which I think is a battery connector. There's a micro USB there, and a couple of, what are you? MS1117 5-volt regulator and a 3.3 volt regulator. Not quite sure why we need a 5-volt regulator, but regardless, there is 5 volts there, 3.3 volts there. There's the signal coming off the various things. And even though they're labeled larger on the back, they are also labeled here on the front as well. That is kind of cool. So no doubt this is intended to work with the actual microbit, but that edge connector should be compatible with this one as well, because this was designed to fit that form factor. So now we have a bunch of GPIO available there, which is a lot more convenient to get at than trying to get onto them on there, except for the 3 that are set up for clip leads on them. Nice firm slotting in there. That's a very solid feeling edge connector too. Huh. Well, that is interesting. And as I said, since I looked at this closer last week, I kind of wish I'd waited until this thing showed up, but I was impatient to find out about that. This will make that much more useful. Microbit V2 I/O expansion board adapter for BBC Microbit. And also for anything that fits that form factor. Is there much else to learn about it down here? Just some close-up pictures, and I guess that's about it. Which brings us to the last, the largest, and the heaviest package. Let's, where does this open here? Oh, this one actually says what it is. It's a table microphone stand bracket, adjustable height, desk microphone support, etc., 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 etc. Ah, okay. I remember ordering this a very long time ago. So this is nothing particularly fancy or out of the ordinary. It is just a very basic desktop microphone stand. It even comes with a clip, which I'm not going to use, but I'm hoping that there is, yeah, there is an adapter. Okay. So that is, I don't know what that one is. I think it's used in Asia more, maybe in Europe as well, but this is the more standard North American one, which is the one that I wanted. And the reason I wanted to get a desk stand is so that I can display my old Shure 55 microphone on it. Oh no! Is that colliding with this? Oh, that stupid adapter thing. Is this going to work? I'm going to make it work. Well, that's not great. The knurling on this adapter is a little big. But there are others that I think I've got in my collection that don't have that knurling, that just go in there, that won't collide with the audio connector there. But that allows me to put this old guy on display where he should be, rather than just sitting in a pile over on the side of the workshop here. So that is a win, even if this is a little annoying. I think if I can't find another adapter, I will shave that down. But yeah, I think that's going to do the job. Even though this is lightweight and plastic and kind of cruddy from that point of view, it does the job. I just can't show you because my space here isn't big enough. Wait, there we go. Yeah, I can't really show you in the normal view, but there is how it looks sitting on there, which looks a lot more dignified than just sitting on a shelf on its side, covered in dust. I like it. Table microphone stand bracketed, adjustable desk microphone support, desktop mic holder, etc. Currently going for $13.08. I paid about $2 less than that back in October when I ordered it. There's the dimensions of it, 11.4 centimeters across the base. Maxes out at about 25 to 36 centimeters, somewhere in there. Yeah, I guess depending on what you want. I'm just going to keep it down short. It comes with the microphone clip. It is an ABS elastic chuck. The chuck is, where are we here? this part here, which is the grip that tightens to adjust it up and down. But nowhere does it say that the whole thing is plastic. Matter of fact, down here in their questions and answers, they state that it's metal. The only thing that's metal on here is the screw right there. Yeah, okay. Regardless, it does the job, and I think this microphone deserves to be on a classic looking round base weighted stand. I could have got a tripod stand for cheaper, but that just doesn't fit the vibe of this microphone, I don't think. Well, that was a fun little assortment of things. Got a couple of different types of battery management boards, 2S and 3S. 40 amps should be more than enough for anything that I'm doing around here. And that one claims to be balancing. This one, the listing suggested that it might be, but I didn't see that on the chips. So I'm going to have to look closer at the various chips that are on there. None of them are the charge, constant current, constant voltage charging, so I'd still need that in front of it. But these will do the protection and disconnect for various different scenarios of protection. Then I've got my package from, who was it, Gerald, sent in. The wood for playing around on the laser cutter, and this little audio reverb board. It calls it reverb. The chip itself calls it more echo. So we'll see when we get around to playing with that, I guess. And we have the microbit format adapter, which I'm going to use with that pseudo microbit, what is that, Pi Pico board that I got. It's an interesting ecosystem this belongs to, this BBC microbit stuff, and as I mentioned a couple of times in previous videos, I haven't had much exposure personally to the microbit world. Are there any other peripherals or add-ons that might be useful or interesting to play with? If you've got experience in that world, let me know down below. And then we have this microphone stand for my antique microphone over here. And again, it doesn't need to be rock and roll sturdy or anything like that, and being plastic, it isn't really, but it will do the job just fine holding my microphone on a shelf for all to see. Well, all who wander into my basement anyway. And a bonus little mic clip comes with it, which I can use for other things. Fun stuff. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for the donations. And of course, thanks to my YouTube channel members and my Patreon supporters who actually toss a couple of dollars into the chip jar every month and help keep my beer fridge full. That is always appreciated. As usual, questions and comments down below. I will talk to you later.